You know, there's a process happening inside you right now, trillions of times a day. It's the fundamental story of how our cells divide. And it's a story that connects the miracle of life itself to the very diseases that can threaten it. Let's dive in.
So here's a wild question for you. What could cancer and these incredible potential miracle cures possibly have in common? Well, the answer, believe it or not, lies in the exact same biological process, cell division. It's a process that, when it works perfectly, creates and sustains life. But when it breaks, it can cause so much trouble. And by understanding it, we might just find the future of medicine.
Okay, so where do we even begin with something this huge? Well, you always start with the instruction manual. Before any cell can possibly divide, it has to have a perfect copy of the blueprint, the code for building and running your entire body.
And that blueprint, you've probably guessed it, is our DNA. It's basically the source code for you, packed tightly inside almost every single one of your cells. But the thing is, this DNA is incredibly long, so our bodies have this really clever way of keeping it all organized.
See, when a cell gets ready to divide, that super long DNA strand coils up into these dense little structures we call chromosomes. We humans have 46 of them, all neatly arranged in 23 pairs. And this isn't just some random jumble, right? This perfect pairing is absolutely crucial to make sure that when a cell splits, each new cell gets an exact, complete copy of the genetic blueprint.
All right, so the blueprints are all organized and ready to go. But how does the cell actually do the copying? This is where we get to see this incredible biological dance in action. This whole process is called mitosis, and honestly, the best way to picture it, think of it like a biological photocopier. Its main job is super simple but incredibly important. Take one cell and make two perfect, identical copies. This is happening in your body all the time. When you get a paper cut, when your skin flakes off, it's what allows you to heal and grow.
And it's not just one step. It's this beautiful, carefully choreographed dance called the cell cycle. First up is interphase, where the cell just kind of does its thing, grows, and, most importantly, makes a perfect copy of all its DNA. Then comes prophase, where that DNA scrunches up into those chromosomes we just talked about. In metaphase, they all line up perfectly right in the middle, like soldiers on parade. Then, in anaphase, the copies are pulled apart to opposite ends of the cell. During telophase, new command centers or nuclei form around each set. And finally, the grand finale, cytokinesis, where the cell literally pinches in the middle and splits right in two. And boom, one cell has just become two.
So you have all this perfect copying going on over and over again. What's the end result? Well, it's how we go from just one single cell to, well, us. It's the process that builds entire, complex, living things.
I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. Every single one of us started as just one cell. Through countless rounds of mitosis, that one cell became the trillions that make up our bodies today. But here's the magic trick. They don't all stay the same. They start to differentiate, to specialize, turning into brain cells, muscle cells, skin cells, each one with a very specific and vital job to do.
But what happens when this perfectly controlled, life-giving machine breaks? What happens when that cellular photocopier ignores all the instructions and just gets stuck on the copy button? Well, this is where our story takes a much darker turn.
And that right there is the heart of what cancer is. It's mitosis that's just gone completely haywire. A cancer cell is basically a rebel that ignores all the body's stop signals. It just keeps dividing and dividing, making more and more cells that the body absolutely does not need. And this uncontrolled growth is what eventually forms a tumor.
Now, you've probably heard that not all tumors are the same, and that's absolutely true. A benign tumor, you can think of it like a contained problem. It grows, sure, but it usually stays put, wrapped up in a membrane. A malignant tumor, on the other hand, is much more dangerous. It grows fast, it invades the tissues around it, and, this is the scary part, it can send out cells into the bloodstream to start new tumors in other parts of the body. That process is called metastasis.
Okay, so if a breakdown in this process is the problem, could a better understanding of it also be the solution? This brings us to the flip side of our big question, the incredible promise of the body's own master cells.
So let me introduce you to the hero of this part of the story, the stem cell. This is a cell that hasn't decided what it wants to be when it grows up yet. It's undifferentiated. You can think of it like a blank slate, or maybe a master key, because it holds the amazing potential to become many different types of cells that the body might need for repair. Now, there are a couple of different kinds we need to talk about. You've got embryonic stem cells, which come from very early embryos. Think of these as the ultimate all-rounders. They can become pretty much any cell type in the entire body. Then you have adult stem cells, which we have in places like our bone marrow. They're still incredibly useful, but they're a bit more limited. They can usually only become a few related cell types, like different kinds of blood cells.
And this is why you hear so much buzz and excitement around this topic. I mean, just imagine, what if we could replace the cells destroyed by type 1 diabetes? What if we could treat paralysis by repairing a damaged spinal cord? Or replace cells destroyed by diseases like multiple sclerosis? We're already using adult stem cells in bone marrow transplants to treat blood cancers like leukemia. The potential here is absolutely staggering.
Okay, but if it sounds too good to be true, well, you know how that goes. It is not that simple. Harnessing this incredible power is one of the most complicated scientific and ethical puzzles we have ever faced.
First, let's talk about the science, because the hurdles are massive. A lot of these therapies are still very experimental, with absolutely no guarantee they'll work. Finding a suitable, compatible donor can be incredibly difficult. And there's always the risk that cells grown in a lab could pick up mutations or get contaminated. Even just the logistics of obtaining and storing these powerful cells is a huge challenge.
And then you have the ethical issues, which are just deeply complex and personal. See, a primary source of these powerful embryonic stem cells is unused embryos from IVF clinics. And this brings up some profound questions. Is it right to use a potential life to save an existing one? Does this turn embryos into a commodity? And the biggest question of all, at what point is an embryo considered a person with rights? There are no easy answers here at all.
And on top of all of that, there are the big social issues. How do we, as a society, get our heads around this? We have to have a serious conversation about whether the potential benefits are worth the very real objections. And, crucially, we have to figure out how to protect vulnerable patients from being exploited by clinics promising miracle cures that aren't backed by real science.
So here we are, right back where we started. The very same process, cell division, is the engine of life, the cause of devastating disease, and maybe, just maybe, the key to a future of revolutionary cures. Stem cells offer this immense, incredible hope, but they also force us to ask some of the hardest questions imaginable. The science is racing ahead, but as a society, we still have to decide, where do we draw the line?